Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Chemistry Basics again. Today we are going to see the multiple choice questions on NMR spectroscopy. So we have a series of the multiple choice questions now. So today it's a part 3 NMR spectroscopy. So if you are viewing this channel first time, so just subscribe the channel, you can share the video and you can press the bell icon button so you will get the notification of the next video. Let's start today's multiple choice question without wasting time. So let's go. So first question is, the phenomenon of NMR or PMR was first observed in, so option A 1936, option B 1946, option C 1956 or option D 1966. So correct answer is 1946. So the phenomenon of NMR was first observed. In PMR spectroscopy, dash radiations are used, whether it is UV, microwave, radio waves, or X-rays. So correct option, all of you know NMR spectroscopy. So radio waves are used in NMR spectroscopy. All nuclei having spin quantum number I dash dash behaves as magnet. So you have to fill in the blanks. So A greater than 0, B less than 0, C equal to 0, or D all of these. So always remember that those nuclei having spin quantum number greater than 0 behaves as a magnet. Which of the following is non-magnetic in nature? What is the condition for the non-magnetic nuclei? So condition for the non-magnetic nuclei is this one. So you have to just find out the atomic number and atomic mass number, whether they are even or not. If both are even, then definitely it is a non-magnetic. In any all other combinations, nucleus is definitely magnetic. So when it is a non-magnetic, when atomic number and atomic mass numbers are even. So you have to just find out here. If you see here option B, here carbon 612, so both are even and hence B will be the option. In any other A, C, D options, so if you see one of them is odd, so definitely option B will be the correct answer. Spin quantum number of hydrogen is, so hydrogen having a single unpaired electron there, so its spin quantum number, so it's a half, so 1 by 2 is the spin quantum number. So next question, when spinning nucleus is placed in an uniform external magnetic field, then its magnetic moment can be dash dash to direction of the applied external magnetic field. So we have to find out the direction of applied external magnetic field and the magnetic field generate or magnetic moment of the spinning nucleus. So just see here. So here is the spinning nucleus. So the magnetic moment is like this. And when that spinning nucleus is placed in the external magnetic field, so it can orient itself either in the direction of applied external magnetic field or in the opposite direction. That will be the anti-parallel. So parallel or anti-parallel. So answer will be D. So it can be parallel or anti-parallel. Option D will be the correct answer. So let's go for the next. So dash dash and dash dash were the first who developed various methods for recording PMR spectra. So Kahn and Ingold, Cook and Maxwell, Purcell and Bloch, and Woodward and Pfizer. So correct answer is Purcell and Bloch were the first to develop this various methods for recording PMR spectra. Dash dash is an ideal solvent for PMR spectra. So which will be the ideal solvent for the PMR spectra? Carbon tetrachloride, N-hexane, ether or ethanol. So carbon tetrachloride is the very good solvent or ideal solvent for PMR spectra. In PMR at 300 MHz instrument, the magnetic field required to excite the nucleus is dash dash Gauss. So we have some calculations here. So for that you should know, so at 60 MHz instrument, the magnetic field required to excite the nucleus is 14092 Gauss. So therefore, at 300 megahertz instrument, the magnetic field required to excite the nucleus should be 5 times of this, because instrument capacity is increases by 5 times. So 14092 into 5. So you will get the 70,460. So therefore the answer will be C. So for 60 megahertz instrument you require this much, 14092 Gauss. So you should know that. Then you can easily calculate for any megahertz instrument. So just you have to do that cross multiplication, you will get that answer. Okay, so the correct answer is option C. Now the number of PMR signals is equal to the number of types of dash dash in molecule. So whether it is option A carbon, B bonds, C protons, or D electrons. So it's a easy question. So number of types of protons, yes, definitely. So whatever number of protons are present, types of protons present in the compound, so that number of PMR signals you will see in the spectrum. Next, the number of PMR signals of following compounds are. So option A 5, 2, 3, option B 5, 1, 3, option C 5, 2, 2, and option D 4, 1, 2. So we have to find out the number of types of protons, and then you can find out the number of PMR signals. So let's see this first compound here. So how many types of protons are present here? So if you see here, so this one is A, then this B, these two are the same, so that's why it will be C, D and E. So it has 5 types of protons, and therefore it will give you the 5 signals. So A, B, C will start with the 5, so D will never be the answer. Okay, now we'll go for the second. If you see here, this nitrogen will be attached to ethylene group. So here is the ethylene group, here also a ethylene group, and if you see in between, so here also if you see, this is the ethylene group. So both the nitrogens are joined by a 3 ethylene groups. So definitely all are equivalent, and therefore it will give you only one signal, and hence you may have the B option will be the correct. That's a 5-1. Let's go for the third also. If you see here, this hydrogen is definitely different. It present on nitrogen. These two are the same, and these two are the same. So third will have 3. So option B will be the correct answer. So it's having 5, 1, 3 PMR signals in spectrum. When an external magnetic field applied to proton, circulating bonding electron pair produces its own magnetic field known as A. Electromagnetic field, B. Paramagnetic field, C. Diamagnetic field, or none of these. So let's see what happens when external magnetic field applied to proton. So see here, this is the spinning nucleus, and this is placed in a external magnetic field, that's the applied magnetic field, and here these are the circulating bonding electrons. So these circulating bonding electrons are inducing magnetic field. So this is the induced magnetic field, and its direction is exactly opposite to that of the applied magnetic field. This is known as a diamagnetic field. So option C is the correct answer. Now mostly the direction of diamagnetic field or induced magnetic field is dash dash to the direction of applied magnetic field. So just we have seen that. So if you see the direction of this induced or diamagnetic field is opposite, mostly opposite to the applied magnetic field, and therefore answer will be B. That's the correct answer. Diamagnetic field protects the nucleus from the external magnetic field is known as. So option A shielding, option B de-shielding, option C coupling, or option D splitting. So just we have seen again the same thing. So if you see here, this is spinning nucleus and this is the applied external magnetic field. So as this particular induced magnetic field is opposing this applied external magnetic field, so definitely it is going to be protected, and when protection is there, definitely it is the shielding, and hence the answer will be shielding. Here are the two statements. Statement 1, when electron density around the proton decreases, de-shielding takes place. And statement 2, proton will appear at a field. So options are given here. Both statements are true. Both statements are false. Statement 1 is the reason of statement 2, and statement 1 is true but statement 2 is false. So let's find out which will be the correct option. So when electron density around any proton decreases, definitely de-shielding will be there, because shielding de-shielding occurs or depends on electron density. So definitely electron density decreases, de-shielding increases. Okay. So when de-shielding is there, that proton will never appear at a field. So it will go into the downfield. So remember that de-shielding, downfield. So second statement will be the false and first statement will be the correct. And hence the answer will be statement 1 is true and statement 2 is false. Now, the number of signals produced by tetramethylsilane in PMR. So, how many signals are produced by tetramethylsilane? It's one of the simple thing. So, see here, this is the tetramethylsilane. All methyl groups are equivalent, having 12 hydrogens there, and will give you the only one signal there, as they all are the equivalent protons. Dash dash is used as internal standard or reference compound in PMR spectroscopy. So options are DCM, CTC, TMS or THF. So what will be the answer? So in NMR spectroscopy, mostly used solvent is TMS, tetramethylsilane. Now why TMS is used as a solvent in PMR spectroscopy? It has some special qualities. So TMS produces only one sharp signal, and TMS will occurs at very highest magnetic field. All other remaining organic compounds are to the downfield with respect to the TMS. TMS is a very good solvent, just we have seen, and it's a volatile. 27 degrees Celsius, it's a boiling point, so sample can be recovered 100%. And due to these all qualities, TMS is used as an internal standard. The separation between the peak position of the sample proton with respect to TMS proton is known as. So it's one of the simple question. So answer is chemical shift. Okay, so with respect to TMS proton, what's the occurrence of the peak? That separation distance is nothing but the chemical shift. Chemical shifts are independent of the instrument used. So what's the answer? Whether it is true or false? So it's definitely true, because chemical shifts are independent on instrument used. Any instrument, if you are taking, whether it is 60 megahertz, 100 megahertz, 300 megahertz, so its delta value will not be changed. So it will remains same. If delta value is 7, what is the value of tau scale, or what is the value of tau? So whether it is A0, B3, C7 or D10. So for that, you should know the relation between delta scale and tau scale. So here it is, delta is equal to 10 minus tau, or tau is equal to 10 minus delta. So here delta value is given us, it's a 7. So just put that delta value 7 here. So 10 minus 7, you will get 3. So answer will be 3. The next question, which of the following will occur at most downfield region? Methyl fluoride, methyl chloride, methyl bromide or methyl iodide. So if you see here, the halogen atoms are attached to methyl group. So from fluorine to iodine, so electronegativity is decreases. So as the electronegativity is more, what will happen? It withdraws the electron from the methyl group, and therefore electron density at the methyl group is less, and therefore it will go to the downfield region. So as the electronegativity of atom increases, de-shielding increases, and therefore delta value also increases, and hence the answer is CH3F. Now in alkynes, the acetylenic proton signals occurs at upfield, while alkenes at the downfield. So what will be the reason? So option A, sp hybridized carbon. Option B, decreased in electron density. Option C, diamagnetic shielding effect, or option D, due to the strength of triple bond. So alkynes will occur at upfield as compared to the alkenes. So what will be the reason? So let's see what happens when external magnetic field is applied to both the molecules. So if you see here first in case of the alkenes, so here the external magnetic field applied. So there is a formation of this diamagnetic field. So in which this part is a shielding zone and inner part is a shielding zone and outer part is a de-shielding zone. So if you see these protons that comes in the de-shielding zone and therefore it will occur at downfield. But if you are taking the acetylene molecule in external magnetic field, the molecule is a vertical, and so therefore what will happen? So that protons will comes in the inner part and that inner part is a shielding zone, and therefore the protons will occur at upfield, and hence the answer will be diamagnetic shielding effect. This is known as a diamagnetic shielding effect. Okay. The next question. The de-shielding of aromatic protons is more than those of alkenes due to option A, decrease in pi electron density, increase in pi electron density, C, diamagnetic shielding effect, or due to aromatic stability. So what will be the reason? So let's see, here it is. So again this is the alkenes and these are the aromatic ring. Okay, so here if you see again this diamagnetic field, so protons will comes in the de-shielding zone. Definitely in both the cases proton will comes in the de-shielding zone, but in case of benzene more pi electrons are present because three the pi bonds are there and therefore more pi electron density and hence de-shielding also more. But in case of alkene only one pi bond is there, so smaller will be the diamagnetic field, and hence what will be the answer? What will be the answer? Increase in pi electron density, and hence that particular de-shielding will takes place in aromatic protons. The area under the peak is directly proportional to the number of protons, the number of electrons, the number of neutrons, or number of carbons. It is one of the simple question. The area under the peak is directly proportional to the number of protons. The separation of PMR peaks into number of smaller peaks is known as dash dash of NMR peaks. So let's see that example. If you see here, if I am taking the ethyl chloride on a low resolution PMR or on low resolution instrument, so this will give you only two signals, that A signal and B signal with respect to TMS. TMS will be the 0, so it's a standard one. But same compound, and if you are taking the PMR on high resolution instrument, so these peaks are going to be splitted into number of smaller lines. So here if you see that B proton signal will be splitted in 4 lines and A proton will be splitted into 3 lines. So this particular separation of the PMR peaks into number of smaller peaks is known as splitting. The multiplicity of peak is given by formula dash dash, where n is the number of neighboring proton. Okay, so everywhere n is there, so we have to just find out which is the correct formula, whether it is n plus 1, n minus 1, n plus 2, or n minus 2. So what will be the correct answer? It's a n plus 1. Let's take an example. So if you have this particular compound, it's a propane, and what will be the multiplicities of the given protons? So if you say this CH3, for CH3, so how many neighboring protons are present here? 2. So 2 plus 1, and therefore you are getting the triplet. If you are going for the methylene, so neighboring protons, so here 3 and here 3, so total 6 protons are present. So 6 plus 1, so CH2 will be appears as a septet in the PMR. And if you are going for this CH3 again, so it's very similar to this. So neighboring two protons are there and it will also appear as a triplet. So n plus 1 is the formula for finding out the multiplicity of peaks. Now next question, the relative intensities of the peaks within a multiplate is given by option A, coefficient of r plus 1 raised to n, Pascal's triangle, both A and B, or none of this. So what will be the answer? So let's see here. If you have this particular such a type of multiplicities that can be calculated by using Pascal's triangle. So it's a singlet, it will give the one line. If you doublet, its intensity will be 1:1. So triplet 1:2:1. So by using this Pascal triangle, you can easily find out the relative intensity as well as the coefficients of the expansion of this particular equation. So that's r plus 1 raised to 1 if is n equal to 1. So you're getting r plus 1, and if you're taking the coefficient of these two, so it's a 1:1. And similarly, if n is equal to 2, it becomes a quadratic equation r plus 1 square. So you are getting such a type of binomial expansion, and what will be their coefficient? 1:2:1, and easily you can calculate the relative intensities of the peaks within the multiplate. So both can be useful to find out the relative intensity of the multiplate, and hence the option will be C, that's both A and B. So just we have seen that. Now the relative intensities of the quartet, when quartet will be there, what will be? So four lines are there. So when four lines are there, its intensity will be, so just we have seen here. See, it's a quartet. So its relative intensity is 1:2, 3:2, 3:1. Okay, so answer will be B. Now the separation between the peaks within a multiplate is known as what? Whether it is a coupling constant, whether it is a shielding constant, splitting constant, or both B and C. So let's see what is splitting. So here is the splitting, just we have seen, and now if you see the distance between the particular signals, it will be same here, same distance between the all lines, and that particular thing, that separation distance is known as a coupling constant, and hence the answer will be coupling constant. Mutually coupled protons have dash dash coupling constant. When mutually coupled protons are there, that means if A proton is there, it's coupled with B, or B proton couples with A, so they will have a same effectiveness of the coupling, and therefore coupling constant will be also same. And hence if you see here that particular compound, say ethyl chloride, if A is coupled with B or B is coupled with A, so they will having the same effectiveness. So here it's given, suppose B is coupling with A, it's shown by JBA, and if A is coupling with B, then it's shown by JAB, and both having the same distance between the lines, and that is nothing but the coupling constant. So the mutually coupled protons have same coupling constant. The coupling constant J is independent on option A, chemical environment, option B, relative stereochemical arrangement, option C, effectiveness of coupling, or option D, applied magnetic field. So coupling constant, so definitely it will be depends on chemical environment, because chemical environment will be changed, coupling will be changed. Then second, relative stereochemical arrangement, definitely cis and trans isomers will have the different coupling constants. And effectiveness of the coupling also, how effectively that particular spins of the nucleus are going to interact with each other, depending on that also coupling will be there, and hence A, B, C, that will not be the answer. But if you see the applied magnetic field, so coupling constant is independent on applied magnetic field. Next, the orthocoupling in aromatic ring ranges in. So what's the value of orthocoupling? So whether it is 0 to 1 hertz, whether it is 0 to 3 hertz, whether it is 6 to 9 hertz, or whether it is 13 to 18 hertz. So here it is the types of couplings and coupling constant. So ortho coupling, it's a 6 to 9 hertz, meta coupling 0 to 3 hertz, and para coupling ranges from 0 to 1 hertz. And the answer will be 6 to 9 hertz. Next question, vicinal coupling is also known as what? So 1-2 coupling, 1-3 coupling, 1-4 coupling, or 1-5 coupling. So what is that 1-2, 1-3, 1-4 and 1-5? These are nothing but the relative positions of the atoms who's going to be coupled. Suppose we have this particular vicinal coupling. So if you see the relative position of 1 and 4, they are going to be coupled. So this hydrogen at one position will couple with the hydrogen at the 4 position, and that's why it is known as a 1-4 coupling also. So always remember that vicinal coupling is also known as 1-4 coupling. The coupling shown below is this one. So whether it is geminal coupling, vicinal coupling, W coupling, or long range coupling. So if you see here, both the protons are present on this one and the same carbon. So definitely it will be the geminal coupling. Just we have seen the vicinal coupling also. Vicinal coupling is on adjacent carbons, but the geminal coupling is on one and the same carbon, and therefore answer will be A. What are the types of red proton shown below is? So just see the structure. Yeah, this one. So we have to just find out the type of these protons, whether they are enantiotopic, homotopic, diastereotopic, or isotopic. So how we can find out that enantiotopic, homotopic, diastereotopic? So for that we have to make a one more video. So for the time being, these red protons, if you see this methylene group, it is attached to a chiral center. So whenever it is attached to chiral center, always remember that protons are diastereotopic protons. So this is very important hint. So how to find out that diastereotopic protons? So just when it is attached to the chiral center, definitely these are diastereotopic protons. So here these are the diastereotopic protons. In alkenes, cis coupling value is dash dash than trans coupling value, whether it is smaller, greater, same, or none of this. So let's take, these are the cis coupling and trans coupling. So if you see the cis coupling value, it's a 6 to 12 hertz, but when if you are seeing this particular trans coupling, so it's tremendously increases, it's a 12 to 18 hertz, and therefore the alkenes, in alkenes, cis coupling value is smaller than trans coupling value. Next question, the equivalent protons do not couple, whether it is true or false. So what will be the answer? It's very simple. It's true. Equivalent protons do not couple. So for coupling, protons should be non-equivalent. In paraxylene, all protons are identical. True or false? So here it is. This is the paraxylene. So 1,4-dimethyl benzene, and if you see here, it has the two sets of protons. Methyl methyl group will form a one set, and remaining aromatic protons at the ortho positions, so that will make the another set. So two sets of protons are present. So definitely all protons are not identical, and the answer will be false. If doublet pattern seen in PMR spectra between delta value 7 to 8 indicates presence of dash dash. It's a very important thing, whether it is ortho disubstituted benzene, meta disubstituted benzene, para disubstituted benzene, or all of these. So definitely it should not be all of this. So if doublet pattern is there, so that will be the very characteristic hint that will give you whether it is a para disubstituted, ortho disubstituted, or meta disubstituted. If you see here, if both the groups at para positions are same, then there will be no coupling, because all will be having the same chemical environment. But if you have the X and Y, different groups are present at the 1,4 position, then and then they are going to be coupled with each other and they will give you doublet pattern, and then we can say okay, so that will be the para disubstituted benzene. In ortho disubstituted and meta disubstituted benzene you won't get such a type of pattern. Next, the sites of unsaturation for the compound having molecular formula C9H11Br is. So how to find out the sites of unsaturation? So we have a formula for that. So sites of unsaturation is equal to 2C plus N plus 2 minus M divided by 2. So what's that? C, N and M. So C stands for number of carbons, N number of nitrogens, and M is the number of monovalent atoms. It includes H, that's the hydrogen and halogens. Okay. Any other elements if there, that like oxygen, sulfur, that you can exclude. Okay. So let's find out by using this particular molecular formula C9H11Br. So here it is. So sites of unsaturation. So 2 into number of carbons 9, number of nitrogens 0, plus 2 minus monovalent atom we want. So hydrogen plus 1 Br. So 11 plus 1. So it will be 12. So divided by, so 9 2 it's 18, plus 2 it will be 20, and 20 minus 12 it will be 8. So 8 by 2. So you are getting a 4 sites of unsaturation. So in this way you can easily calculate the sites of unsaturation of any molecular formula by this formula. Okay. So this is about the NMR spectroscopy multiple choice questions. So thanks for watching this video. So if you like this video, just subscribe the channel, press the bell icon button, and you can share and comment this video. Thank you very much.